You've tuned in to I Am Not a Number Live, the review show with Cardinal Sin
and friends,
where we review a different episode of The Prisoner starring Patrick McGoohan. Each week, we discuss a different episode and its implications then and now. Follow along and make sure to catch the episode in our viewing order so you can be ready to ask questions and participate in the chat. New episodes premiere each week on Wednesdays from 3 to 5 Central. The show's surreal and political implications on the reduction of the individual to a number have an even more insidious impact today, as all of our information, phone calls, texts, likes, photos, and other data are harvested to be sold and turn us into product rather than consumers. Get ready for a deep dive into one of the most important shows to have an impact on pop culture and society ever. And remember, I am not a number. Greetings, followers. It is I, Cardinal Sin, and we are back with another episode of I Am Not a Number. This one being episode number 14. Do not forsake me, oh my darling. And of course, I can't do this alone, so I bring you Rick Davey. Hello,
hey.
Rick.
Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year to everyone watching and listening today. It's great to be back. We've been a few weeks off, haven't we? And it's good to be back in the hot seat and talking about this great show.
It's funny you mention a hot seat. I made a few acquisitions of my own over the holidays. One being the book for which this show is named. I'll make myself big here. I Am Not a Number by Alex Cox, which I bought through the Unmutual store. And The Prisoner Interrogations. And I was curious, do you know if this book, Rick, I'm Not a Number by Alex Cox, is that the same as the director, Alex Cox?
It is the same guy, yep, director of Repo Man and lots of other.
Sid and Nancy.
Yep, exactly, yep. No, it's the same Alex Cox. It is the movie director. There's a couple of YouTube videos out there somewhere, I think, of him talking about the book, and we had him as a guest at our 50th anniversary event at Elstree Studios. He came and talked about the book and his love for The Prisoner and Patrick McGoohan. He's a big McGoohan fan generally, and it is the same guy, and it's an interesting book. He comes to some interesting conclusions, is all I will say. I don't want to spoil it for you because he comes out with a conclusion. Basically, how he presents it is he goes through the episodes in production order. And for each episode, he tells you what happens and makes a conclusion about the episodes. And all the way through, you kind of agree with what he's saying. So you think, yeah, that is what that episode is about. But then right at the end, he comes out with what he thinks the whole series is about. And without spoiling it for you, he comes up with something that no one else has ever come up with before.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting is the word to use.
And
this is where you tell me you've
Prisoner...
been through the interrogations book and you've got all the questions right straight away because you're such an expert.
Right. And it's a bit of a quiz book, isn't it?
Yeah. Kind of like an examination book.
Yeah.
Nice shot.
Like, this is our study guide. It's got some great photos.
Yeah, that's a good shot, that.
Especially for today's episode, there's very little, if any, Patrick McGoohan in it.
That's very true.
Just all in all, a very cool exam book. And I recommend everybody rush, don't walk, to theunmutual.co.uk. Go to the shop and grab yourself some of this great Prisoner merch. And we're going to be giving away a little Prisoner merch before we're done.
Oh, that's exciting. Competitions.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of merch, I don't know if you can see this, but I did pick up some other goodies.
Ah, a badge. You are a true unmutual now.
Unmutual. Oh, and before I forget,
Ah, that is series 2, I think, of
yeah,
the Big Finish audio drama. Have you listened to it yet? Because I know you enjoyed series 1 a lot.
no, I haven't. I haven't heard series one either.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
I
I thought
guess
you had.
this will be easier for people to see if it's right side up.
Yep.
So this one contains stories written by Nicholas Briggs of Big Finish, including Living in Harmony, Hammer into Anvil, Project 6, and I Met a Man Today, which sounds extremely Beatlesque.
I Met a Man Today is based on Many Happy Returns. He just changed the title.
Ah,
Project 6 is based on A, B, and C, and he changed the title. But interestingly, The Living in Harmony is a completely new episode. He just stole the title from. So it's a bit of a mix of new stuff and old stuff and retitled stuff. But all good stuff.
that's very interesting. Um, I do want to let folks know that you can grab your Cardinal Sin / I'm Not a Number merch at gillstore.com, and we will no doubt be venturing there before the show is over. I'm going to kind of turn the tables on you, Rick. First, we're going to say hello to our audience here. Canadian Spider-Man is here. Hail. Edge of Time, good to see you. Rod Thunderheart is here. Hail. And there's various greetings going on. But let's go ahead and put the screws to you, Rick.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell us about Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, which was originally titled Face Away. Is that right?
Face Unknown. You're very
Face
close.
Unknown.
Face
Yeah.
Unknown. Yeah, it's probably one of the episodes which is unlike any other episode in the series, and there's a reason for that. And I know one of your listeners has just asked a question: why was Patrick McGowan not in
Now,
this?
I understand that
Yeah.
the writer for this episode had notes from George Markstein, but had never seen or read any scripts for The Prisoner before, and figured this was just a standard Danger Man type plot. Is that right?
No, I'm afraid you've read something incorrect there, because the writer of this episode had written Chimes of Big Ben.
Oh,
His name is Vincent Tilsley. He'd written Chimes of Big Ben, obviously, which was one of the episodes written as to be episode 2. Now, basically, how this episode came about was that they'd made a production block of 13 episodes. At that point, they were going to have a production break and then finish off some more episodes. Lou Grade wanted another 13, but as they'd already only sold 17 episodes to CBS the previous autumn, there was only going to be 4 more episodes. But in the interim, Patrick McGowan had made a deal with a studio in America, MGM in America, to make a film called Ice Station Zebra, which, of course, I think we'll be reviewing on this show in a few weeks' time.
yes.
Now, because he had already agreed to make this film, he could have pulled out, but The Prisoner was over budget at that point, so he thought, well, I can use the fee, and the fee can help towards the budget of making the last few episodes of The Prisoner. So he turned around to his co-producer, David Tomlin, and said, right, okay, we need to find an episode or find a script that deals with an episode, and I can't be in it. So sort something out. So David Tomlin, George Markstein had left by this point, taking with him most of the writers that had been on the show previously. So David Tomlin went to Vincent Tilsley, who had written Chimes of Big Ben, and said, look, what can you do in terms of trying to get an episode together where I'm afraid Patrick can only be there for a couple of days' work, maybe 1 day's work, so he can be at the start and at the end, but nothing in between. Yeah. So David Tomlin came up with Tilsley, I beg your pardon, came up with an idea that a travelling circus would come to town, and they would do some sort of magic trick that would make number 6 disappear. and that would be the reason that number 6 wasn't there for the episode. And David Tomlin said, I think that's, even to our standards, that's a bit too kind of a bit too odd. Let's just do the old-fashioned body swap.
Fantastic.
Story. Yeah, let's just do the body swap story. Yeah, it's an old sci-fi classic. Let's just do that for this episode. So Vincent Tilsley wrote an episode which is very, very different to what we see on screen. It was heavily rewritten. Vincent Tilsley himself hated it. He did interviews after the series saying, I loved Chimes of Big Ben. I was very happy with how that turned out. But I didn't like how Do Not Forsake Me. I thought it was a mess. It was a mess when I wrote it, and the rewrite was even more of a mess. Which I think is a little harsh, because I think as a standalone story, I think it's good fun. But that's why it feels so different to the rest of the series. They were in a hurry. They needed to make 4 more episodes, and they needed to make 1 episode that Patrick McGoohan wasn't in. So they hastily cobbled together a body swap episode, filmed it in a slight hurry. Obviously, a different actor playing number 6, that of Nigel Stock. And that's how the episode came about. I strangely like it. It's not one of my favourites, but I quite like it. I think the music's great. I think we see some lovely London location footage, which was originally shot for the opening sequence, but it was offcuts and bits and pieces that they didn't use. So they reinserted into this, which explains why whenever you see Nigel Stock around London, he looks strangely like Patrick McGoohan. It's because they just used footage from the opening sequence and tried to make you think that it was Nigel Stock. You know that it's not Nigel Stock driving around in the Lotus, because Nigel Stock didn't have a driver's license. He couldn't drive. So hence why they used, pardon the pun, stock footage of Patrick McGoohan driving around in the episode. I rather like it. It's not like the rest of the series. It's not your typical episode. If you lost it and we only had a 16 episode series, I don't think we'd be losing very much. It asks a lot more questions than it answers. You know, number 6 suddenly has a fiance. But I think it does add some interesting discussions about which side runs the village. I don't think this episode particularly helps with that, because I'm not sure that his side know much about it. And indeed, the guy that's tailing number 6 throughout the episode ends up being gassed at the end by the village authorities as well, which kind of supposes to us that the village was tracking number 6, as was number 6's own side at the same time. That says to me that it's not number 6's own side that's behind the village. But again, there's a discussion there to be had. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Well, I enjoyed the episode. I'd like to know whether you did.
I did too. I really, despite myself, enjoyed the episode a lot. I enjoyed the fact that it was dislike The Prisoner in almost every way, which is sort of the theme of The Prisoner in any case.
Yeah. Good point.
I thought that the actor that played number 6 after the thought transference did a really good job. I don't remember. I watched it last night just once, and I usually watch it twice. But I don't remember how he got from the village to London.
Well, he would have been just sort of transported there asleep, because we see him at the start of the episode being dragged out of his cottage and into the ambulance. Then you see him kind of unconscious on the operating table, waiting for his mind to be transferred. Presumably at that point, before he woke up, they just shipped him off down to London, stuck him in the house, disappeared, and then let him wake up, presumably. That's kind of a 4-4 thing. We don't see that. It's just assumed, I guess.
Oh, it's an off-screen thing?
Yeah.
Do we have any idea as to why they've done this?
Well, I think the general gist of it is that they know that this process exists. They're not quite sure how to fully work it properly so that they can reverse processes, do 2 or 3 people at the same time. They need Professor Seltzman. They need to find Professor Seltzman.
Ah, Seltzman.
So, yeah. And because they know number 6 knows him, they think, right, well, number 6 isn't going to help us. If we ask him to find, pretty please, number 6, please find Dr. Seltzman for us so that we can do some heinous things with body swapping, number 6 isn't going to go for it. So they think to themselves, well, we know how to do the body swap initially. We'll do that, and then we'll tail number 6 so that we can find Professor Seltzman. Interestingly, at the same time, number six's own organisation, led by his fiance's father. So first we've heard of it, but we'll just take it as read that is the case. At the same time, they're trying to find Saltzman as well, because they know that such a process exists. So we do have this kind of dual story of number six trying to find Saltzman so that or triple story actually. Number six trying to find Saltzman so that he can swap his face back. The village trying to find Saltzman so that they can take advantage of what Saltzman is able to do. And then number six is own side trying to find presumably the same end of the village.
Your audio kind of went really fast. Can you back up and repeat?
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Internet connection not great at times here.
It's okay.
Yeah, so the idea behind it is that the village want to find Saltzman so that they can do lots of horrible body swapping things. They can plant secret agents back in their own side, but with somebody else's brain. I think this is a good sci-fi trick, isn't it? We're trying to, implant somebody into another society.
They did it in Star Trek 2 years later.
In the brain, Yeah, exactly. I think it's a well-worn kind of trick. So that's why the village want it. So yeah, exactly. So they think, well, number six isn't going to go and find Professor Saltzman for us. So the best thing we can do is to make number six lead Saltzman, and we'll just follow him. And at the same time, number six's own side are trying to find Saltzman for their own ends. So we end up with three kind of chases to Saltzman. In the end, the village get their man, but Saltzman's too clever for them. Swaps everybody's brains round in the way that the village don't think. Saltzman gets away in the helicopter, and number six is left there with the Colonel now in Saltzman's old man body dying, and all's well that ends well.
Yeah, and like I said, the concept would be used in Star Trek 2 years later, in perhaps the worst episode of Star Trek, an episode in the third season where Captain Kirk body swaps with a female doctor who's up to no good, and William Shatner does a really good job.
Shatner chews the scenery to pieces acting as
he does. He totally
Turnabout Intruder. I love
goes
that
overboard.
Episode. I love the episode, all for the wrong reasons, probably. I think it's great. I love Turnabout Intruder, Gil. I'm sorry to hear that you think it's one of the worst.
Turnabout Intruder, yeah.
It's surely better than the Empath. But that's
yeah.
I think it's good fun. But I think there's other series. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure there's lots of other series where, the body swap. They're running low on storylines. Let's do the body swap episode. I think there's a Jerry Anderson episode, I'm sure, where they do that.
It wouldn't surprise me.
But it's good. I think it works in this case. I think it works. I know that the writer wasn't happy with Do Not Forsake Me, but I think it works. I think it's a good sci-fi spy yarn. I think it's a good, nice 45-minute story. As you say, it's nothing
say
like
again.
The rest of the series, but it doesn't have to be.
Check 1 2.
And I really like the music. I think it works well as an episode. I think I really like the music in it. And I like
I like the music. Some of the
performances are good, as you say. Nigel Stubbs did a good job.
I think that the use of stock footage and footage that didn't make it into the show before, but they still had on the cutting room floor, so to speak, was really well used. It didn't look to me like footage of Patrick McGoohan that I'd seen before, but I'm sure some of it was. The music was great. The way that the book puts it, the writer just strolled right in and wrote an episode of The Prisoner and didn't really know what he was doing, and that's kind of what we get. But what I'm hearing from you is that's a steaming load of bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know where you saw that, but no, Vincent Tilsley wrote Chimes of Big Ben, and he was asked to come back and write another one because they needed something quick. Doing the last 4 episodes in production actually are kind of oh well, he's I'm afraid Mr. Cox has got that wrong. The last 4
Taking
episodes
some
were
liberties
made
with the
very
truth,
quickly.
huh?
Yeah, well, he might have just got mixed up with with other writers, which happens. I'm not going to have a go at Alex. He's a nice guy. But the last 4 episodes were kind of all made in a bit of a hurry. So we've got this episode, which was cobbled together because McGoohan was abroad. We've got The Girl Who Was Death, which was basically based on an unused Danger Man storyline, because they needed to make another episode quickly. They still needed another episode, so they went to the crew members and said, "Have any of you lot got any ideas?" And an assistant editor, Ian Rakoff, said, "Well, I can write a Western." So they did a Western episode. And then, of course, we had the finale, which Patrick McGoohan wrote in 2 days. So all 4 of the last episodes were made in a hurry. But I think, production-wise, that doesn't show. I think Do Not Forsake Me, I think, comes across really nicely as being really nicely shot and directed. Directed by Pat Jackson, who had already directed some other episodes. I think it comes across well, considering people always slag it off, but I enjoy it. I think it's a nice 50 minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know that a lot of people consider this the weakest episode, or yeah, they slag off on it, but I quite enjoyed it, and I found myself watching it and getting immersed, into this world which we've been visiting now for 14 times, and many more. And I just was sitting back and enjoying this story, which is pretty rare for me. Being a screenwriter, 95% of television and movies are crap.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to the series, how could they have continued with "Let's see how he tries and escapes this week," or "Let's see how number 2 tries to break him this week"? It was just getting predictable, and this is not a predictable episode, but still creates some good discussion points about which side runs the village, gives you a bit of background about who number 6 is and what his motivations may or may not be. And I think that adds something to the series. Another episode of we tried to escape and then Rover brought him back, that wouldn't have added anything to the series, whereas I think this does. It could still be the weakest episode of The Prisoner, but that doesn't mean it still isn't.
Or
brilliant.
Turning up the torture devices, exactly. Also wouldn't get us anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. It would just be the same story retold. Whereas this is
I think this is actually a really good place for an episode that just takes a hard left turn,
But to be fair, hard left turns are all we get for the rest of the time as well, because next week is a hard left turn, and then the week after is a hard left turn, and then we have Once Upon a Time, which is an about turn, and then you get Fallout, which we'll come to, and that will be a very interesting show.
In the Alex Cox book, he mentioned Hail, Michael Beacom, and Rod Thunderheart, Canadian Spider-Man. What was it? That he was just kind of handed off this thing and had very little time to do it. And I thought, watching the episode, that he got so much right, there was one part of the episode that was really predictive of the future or the world that we live in today. I don't remember offhand what it is, but I thought, another, episode where the prisoner correctly extrapolates the future from what they have, which they do very well, in general.
Did you get a feeling that you, by the end of this episode, had more of an idea as to which side was running the village, or are you just in the same place that you were before you watched this episode? I wonder whether that question was answered for you at all.
Since a couple of episodes ago, when it seemed like it was, if you'll pardon the expression, sort of a free-for-all, Um, I've been of the opinion that both sides work the village, and that they're all sort of working together. In the United States, what I talk about insofar as politics is that the left hand might be liberal and the right hand might be conservative, but when they go up, they join into the same body. So Democrats, Republicans, they all become corrupt by the time they get up to the trunk. And in The Prisoner, I kind of feel the same way, that at the beginning few 3 or 4 episodes, you're not supposed to understand which side runs the village. And obviously as well with the rest of the episodes. But a couple episodes they tipped their hand, and I think proved, to my satisfaction anyway, that both sides had a hand in the village. One side might run it, but the other side sends their people there, and that it's all one happy worldwide intelligence community, which doesn't make any sense, but I'm convinced of that. What about you?
Well, I think it makes more sense once you see this episode, because, as I mentioned, what happens at the end is that the village end up kidnapping gassing not only number 6, but the guy who's tailing number 6 from number 6's own organization. So that makes you think, why are they bothering to knock out the guy if he's on our side? So that makes you think that there is an outside force. But I always think, if number 6's own side aren't involved, then the most obvious way to get number 6 to talk would be to kidnap his fiance and say, tell us what we want to know, or the broad gets it. Now, the reason they don't do that is because
she's a pretty lady. It'd be a shame if anything happened to her.
Exactly. Absolutely spot on. Now, the reason they can't do that is
very nice army base you've got here, Colonel. Be a shame if anything happened to it.
Yeah, exactly. Her dad is the boss. So he's not going to allow that to happen. He's not going to allow his own daughter to be kidnapped and threatened to get number 6 to talk. So that kind of points you into thinking, well, maybe it is his own side that's involved. Otherwise, they would have just taken the fiance away. So I think you have a valid point to say that both,
and you make a good point,
seem to be involved at some level.
Yeah. And again, in the book, his conclusion is they are sort of giving him this freedom to walk about London and everything, but nobody believes him, despite the fact that he knows intimate details about their life. He can't come out and say, oh, my brain was transferred, because nobody would believe it. And so
nobody believed him in Many Happy Returns when he got home.
Right. And whether that's just more of the village. In this episode, the village sort of seemed to follow him around,
Yeah.
After he
the whole world is the village.
Left. No, not the whole village, but the controlling forces seem to kind of follow him around.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's what I said at the start there. You've kind of got 3 chases, if you like, all going on at once, because you've got number 6, and then following number 6 is Potter, who's working for the London boss, and then you see the Undertaker guy in a few sequences. He sees him, he watches him walk into the camera shop, he watches him walk into his own house. At the end, he's in Austria and gasses them in the cellar, underneath the barber shop.
And how did they get to Austria?
Well, they went on a boat and a ferry. I think you see number 6 in his Lotus.
Oh, that's right.
Ferry.
Yeah.
And then you have all the jaunty French music to show that he's in Paris, and then and the kind of
the
our
accordion,
music,
yeah.
so that he's on the mountains or whatever. That was all a bit kind of bit cliche, but I
Heavy-handed.
guess it told the story.
Yeah. Let's see. We have some comments here. Michael Beacom says, at Rick the Unmutual, the argument you are making is exactly why McGoohan only wanted a few episodes. He knew it could not go on forever like a sitcom. And that reminds me of what I wanted to mention is at this point, according to the book, McGoohan considered this done. And whether it was the first season or the only season, he wanted to make X amount and then he was done. And I guess they carried on without him while he was gone, and he had to come back and work with him. I don't know. How did that shake out?
Yeah, well, exactly. McGoohan always thought that it could only stretch so far. The problem is that the TV in those days was quite formulaic and was normally made in blocks of 13. So 13, 26, 39, that was how it worked in the UK episodes. And they knew pretty quickly that this couldn't sustain for 26 or 39. So in the autumn of 66, as early as that, they sold 17 episodes to CBS. And I don't think at any point McGoohan thought we could have any more than that. And I think he probably would have, if he'd have given the choice then, might have wrapped it up at 13. But as it was, 17 was sold. They got to 13 and thought, well, we've got to make 4 more in a hurry. The transmission dates were fast approaching. By this point, when Do Not Forsake Me was made, it was the summer of 67. And the episodes were airing from the start of September 67. So Canada being the first country actually to show an episode. They had to get it done pretty quickly. So I think that aspect of Alex Scott's book is correct.
And it doesn't feel like they had to do it quickly. There are a couple of episodes where you can tell, well, the boom is in this shot, or, the set isn't completely finished.
I agree with you. I think Do Not Forsake Me is a polished piece of 50-minute ITC action. I think it shows no less style than the other episodes. Of course, it doesn't have the futuristic elements, and it doesn't have Portmeirion, but that doesn't matter. I don't think it looks any worse than any other ITC show of the period.
In the book, Alex Cox mentions that I think McGoohan's prescription against shooting any scenes for this episode in Portmeirion was a good idea. They spent a lot of time inside number 2's office and that kind of thing, inside the set of back home in London. But I really, despite myself, I really enjoyed this episode, maybe more than some of the rest of the episodes we've seen so far.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I think it's a good 45, 50 minutes of fairly predictable but good fun sci-fi fantasy stuff. And I think as I say, I think it does provide some nice questions for the series overall about whose side people are on. I think gives some nice insights into number 6's background. I love the music, and I love the location footage is great as well. They would never have gone to Portmeirion to film at this late in the series anyway, because the Portmeirion filming had long gone. They went back to do 2 shots of the number 6 being carried out of his house, but it's not actually McGoohan, it's his stunt double Frank Mayer that does that sequence. They did have to pop back and do 2 sequences in Portmeirion, but yes, that was all that they needed Portmeirion for. And the next 2 episodes don't feature any Portmeirion at all. So by this point, where they're in the studio at MGM in Bournemouth, let's get this finished.
And they've got most of Portmeirion doubled there anyway.
Yeah, but even the double for Portmeirion doesn't feature in this or the next 2 episodes.
Michael Beacom from the chat says, as to which side, the more I look at it, I think there is a third player here, and neither side in the human political sense is running it. Think Spectre, or if you really want to go outside the box, aliens. And
Michael
he's talking
Beacom
about the
ball
Paul
as ever. I
Reiser
love
character.
That's great, Michael. I think there's definitely something to be said for that.
Isn't he sharp? His questions are always good.
I love it when Michael Beacon's in the chat because we always get something interesting to talk about.
And
Yeah, what
Canadian
about that?
Spider-Man says, "Oh wow, Cardinal sin. Be a shame if anything happened to it." And love us some Python, of course. And Michael Beacom also picked up on the Monty Python riff. I think anybody would. Yeah. Boy, that exploding box set, the Norwegian Blue box set, is so cool.
Have you had a chance to watch any of the restored footage?
Yeah. I watched the first season, and I was just blown away. I haven't gotten into the special features yet, but man, what a great box set. Michael Beacom goes on to say, "I thought that was the point of many happy returns, proving that he might leave the village, but he can never escape their reach." Very good point. There's a song that if I ever hear it again, it'll be way too soon, called Hotel California by the Eagles, who I hate. Just because the song was played over and over and over at my favorite haunt. There was a BBS that I used to use, and we would all locally meet at a place called King Arthur's and shoot pool and drink probably too young, and just in general have a good time seeing each other face to face. And we all did a lot of Monty Python routines. And Michael Beacom says, at some point, the prisoner had to ultimately win, ultimately lose, or just prove he's outmatched. Any of these lead to the end of the ride. And I think, at least so far, every time we get to the end of an episode before the bars come over McGowan's face, he either stops pretending that he's beaten and bloodied and bowed, or we see him escape only for them to drag him back. I noticed that there was a scene in this episode where Rover gets him. Again, it's just stock footage, but that was the one part that wasn't really appropriate for me. I didn't think that it belonged in the episode. They just used it because they had it,
I think it's interesting that we finally see number 6 kissing a lady, and it's not Patrick McGowan, obviously, because he would never choose to do that on screen in The Prisoner. But we finally do see number 6 being able to be passionate with his fiance. And people often say, "Oh, he's not engaged. What a stupid idea to put it in this episode." But we remember back to Chimes of Big Ben. Number 6 and Nadia were stuck in their crates supposedly being flown to London. And Nadia at one point says, "Are you married?" And number 6 replies, "No." And then she says, "Are you engaged?" And he refuses to answer. Says, "No, go to sleep." So we had clues that he might.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So when people ever say to you, "Oh, well, that episode's rubbish because they've invented a fiance," the clues were already there that he did have one.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
It might also explain why he never succumbs to, there are several episodes, Arrival being the one that comes immediately to mind, where the village kind of try to use a lady to kind of break number 6. "I'm your personal maid. What can I do for you, number 6?" That kind of thing.
And the taxi driver, "Where can I take you?"
Yeah, this is, hello. This is, again, if number 6 has a lady back home, he's less likely to succumb to that sort of thing. I mean, one would argue that he's playing a moral character, and all moral people would not succumb to that sort of behavior. But they're much less.
Also, in this episode, we find out that he's been gone a year.
Correct.
which is important because he knows he's been gone a year, and in such a place as the village, even though they have their uh, calendars and everything, one might not know how long they've been there. One day blurs into the next.
Well, when he first wakes up, of course, back in London, he has no memory of the village. He gets up and says, "Oh yes, I've got the dress fitting today, and I'm off to do this and
Right.
do that." You know, he has no recollection of the village of. So I've just seen a fantastic comment from Michael Beacom on the chat.
Yeah, I did too. So, Rick, are we saying that she is the reason he resigned?
Do you know what? She is a bit of a miserable one. So it would surprise me if he just had enough.
This other comment that Michael Beacom made about the three possible outcomes, which Canadian Spider-Man seems to wonder about, win, lose, or prove he's outmatched. I think there's a fourth one, which is that he takes everything that they can throw at him, and those are the wins. You know, there's some episodes where he wins. There's some episodes where the village wins, and I think that, especially as we get toward the end, it's important to keep in mind this guy represents individualism and the sort of person that's going to stand up to authority, an anti-authoritarian. So there's a fourth outcome, I think. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, not wanting to spoil the last two episodes for
Right.
anyone that has yet to see those episodes. The 6 episodes which lead up to that 2-part finale, number 6 essentially at the end of the episode wins. So you do think at that point he has ultimately won, and therefore the village then have no choice but to enter into what we see in the final 2 episodes, where he has to ultimately win or ultimately lose. I won't obviously spoil for anybody what's involved in those last 2 episodes. But in this episode, I think, at the end, number 6 is kind of victorious because he's got his face back. Saltzman has managed to escape, which number 6 is very happy about. The previous episode I think we watched was It's Your Funeral. He wins at the end of that because he foils the bomb plot. The week before that, I think was Hammer into Anvil or Change of Mind. Well, he wins both of those episodes by the end. He destroys the number 2 character in both those episodes. And without spoiling anything, the next 2 weeks, he kind of ultimately wins at the end of each episode, despite the village's best efforts. So I think the village has come to a point when they think number 6 has won. We've got, he's winning here. The early episodes, Dance of the Dead episodes like that, the village are kind of on top. They nearly win in Chimes of Big Ben. You could call that a score draw because number 6 just foils the plot at the end. Many Happy Returns, I think, is a win for the village. So some of the earlier episodes, the village win, Checkmate, another one. And then number 6 is turning the tables in these episodes. So I think number 6 has already won when we get to the finale. He just then has to prove that he's won, in a sense. So I think Michael Beacom,
I enjoyed
exactly the right point.
I think it was the last episode or the one before that, where he got really sneaky and was climbing through the vents and got to the laboratory. And you raised the question, well, where were the cameras then?
I remember. Yes.
You remember that?
I did remember that.
I enjoyed the episodes where number 6 does get a clear win, and also the ones where he's just proven to be unbreakable. Like we were talking before about the Sears training that they make real secret agents take. It's an enhanced defensive measure against torture and interrogation. I think it's SEER training. it's another reason that makes me think that number 6 is a former secret agent rather than a scientist or something like that. I think that McGoohan was just trying to muddy the water when he said, well, he could have been a scientist. He'd have to be a scientist in MI6 and, go to boot camp and do push-ups and pull-ups every day, combat, practice, fencing. He's obviously a secret operative.
I think most people, and in fact, I did a poll once on a news group somewhere back in the days when news groups existed. I think everybody, including me, when they first watch the series, assumes that number 6 is a secret agent, and that's what his job. That's what everyone assumes he is. I think Patrick was kind of playing with us a bit. When you analyse it all, he could be a scientist because he does show scientific expertise. But I always watched it thinking he was a secret agent. These TV sorts of series were only made to be watched once. We didn't have video or DVD back in the late 60s. This was made to watch once, and that was it.
I think it's easier to think of number 6 as an intelligence operative that's had a lot of scientific training than number 6 as a scientist that's been given all this secret agent training.
Yeah. And that is both of those are possibilities. But I agree with you that I think when we watch this, I think he shows so many secret agent skills as opposed to science skills. I mean, if you watch in Checkmate, he doesn't know how to put the radio together. The Rook, who is a scientist, has to do that. And then in this episode, Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling, how many scientists do you know have to count the alphabet on their fingers? Right.
That's what I was wondering. And I thought, there's got to be a reason that he's not doing this in his head. It's nothing you've ever seen him do before, so it's not characteristic of number 6. That was weird. Michael Beacom says, 6 wins battles, but I was talking about the conclusion of the series and why it could not go on indefinitely. Stalemate is also an ultimate outcome, but once again, once that is reached, the series is done.
Absolutely, and that was the point I was making. We have got to the point where number 6 has won again. Next week, number 6 has beaten the Village again. It can't go on indefinitely, and that's why the 2-part conclusion works so well as it is, because that is the definitive end. But great points again from Michael. He's kind of chips him. I'm chipping him up for him, and he's nodding him in, as we say.
Thank goodness for Michael Beacom. Yeah. Much appreciated, as a matter of fact. Rick, let's go ahead and, since we're close to an hour here, let's take a look at what's new on theunmutual.co.uk.
I have to say very little, I'm afraid. There have been no prisoner news over Christmas. We had, sadly, a kind of member of the sort of prisoner family, so to speak, a well-known a chap called David Watson, who had appeared on some British TV talent shows, passed away. But nowhere still, I'm afraid, the most recent news is still that card set that I assume you still haven't received. I'm afraid we have no new news. I tell you what we have had on YouTube is somebody had put up some footage which they just titled Driver's Eye View Driving Around London. And when you analyse the footage, it's actually on hearse filmed footage from the opening sequence behind the Lotus. So there's a great piece on YouTube if you want to look for it. There might be a link right at the top of the Mutual page, actually, in the Stop Press row, just at the top of the Mutual homepage, and where it says Stop Press. There's a link there to it. Obviously, I don't think you'll be able to share the footage now, but if people want to click on the link, yes, can you see there? Stop Press, 18th of the 12th. Astonishing footage has emerged.
My audio dropped out.
No problem. Can you see under Stop Press at the top of the screen there? Just save that for later, folks. Press. So we've got the Unmutual banner at the top, and then it says "Welcome to the Unmutual website," and then it says "Stop Press," and there's a paragraph of just above latest news.
Stop the presses. Yeah.
That's it. So the first stop press there has a link to this YouTube footage. Everyone will find that fascinating. I'm sure it's never been seen before. It's footage.
Astonishing footage has emerged. Sorry, gotta restart the audio engine. Stop the press. Astonishing footage has emerged, emanating from world backgrounds who filmed a lot of the location footage seen in The Prisoner of the filming of the series' opening sequence in Car Hearse, featuring footage of KAR 120C driving at the mall here, which you guys can click on. I'll get a copyright violation if I do.
Exactly.
Danger Man mentioned in
really,
Danger
really
Mouse.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
40th anniversary.
So it's amazing. Well, backgrounds are a bit misleading there. They didn't actually film location footage. What they were tasked of doing is they were basically given all the offcuts to maybe use in other shows in the future if there was anything, stock footage and so on. And basically, this has turned up from that. So it's amazing that 55 years on, stuff still turns up, which I think is amazing. You don't really get that for. I think a few years ago they found a few Star Trek things, didn't they? A few offcuts and. Things. There's a great
and it's being mentioned in shows like The Simpsons and all these other shows that we've talked about. There's definitely still a major Prisoner influence in the zeitgeist, of pop culture.
It's amazing that stuff turns up from behind the scenes like this footage, completely mislabeled. The people who put it up on YouTube didn't know what it was. They just put, here's some footage from a car in London. They thought it was just something generic and uninteresting.
Mm-hmm. While we're here, can you show us something on the website that you maybe haven't showed us yet?
Well, how about on that left-hand side? Why don't you scroll down to interviews? On the left-hand side of the screen, there was a list of blue thing there. Go down to I for interviews.
Sorry, I had an audio drop out. What was I looking for?
Yeah, on the left-hand side, interviews, just near where your arrow is now. And you'll find some interviews with some cast and crew from the series there.
Oh, very nice.
So some of the cast there. Some of the interviews are very small, just a paragraph or two, but some of the crew interviews are quite in depth. Where they talk about all the scenes they shot and things like that. So
I noticed this one is from "Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling."
Yeah. Oh, yes. Very on topic, Cardinal sin. So, there's a few remembrances there from him, and there's some other. That one's not a very long interview, but there are longer ones on there.
Mm-hmm. What else would you direct us to, if you could direct us to something on the website that we haven't seen yet?
Okay, let's have a think. If you go back to the, if you love to read in-depth stuff, what does it all mean? What similar stuff is out there to The Prisoner? Go to articles and essays at the top of that list, or near the top of that list on the left-hand side. There's a huge collection of in-depth articles and essays about the series, about what it means. There's episodes, there's articles about The Prisoner and drugs, articles about, comics, articles about reviews, articles about all the different episodes. There's a huge selection there of in-depth stuff to read.
I am a number. That sounds like I am Spock. The Unmutual Prisoner Article Archive. I am a number. Do you know offhand what this is about?
No, I can't remember, to be honest. So long since I put that on the website.
Yeah.
I think it's all about the fact that we are all numbers. You
Yeah.
can go around saying I'm not a number as much as you want, but your passport, your voting cards have numbers on, so everybody knows who everybody voted for. Nothing is individual anymore.
Oh, certainly not. Yeah, which is why we need the prisoner now more than ever.
Absolutely.
What about merch? What about goodies people can buy
Oh well, yeah.
in the shop?
I
Let
think
me
you've already given me a nice
get
plug
my
earlier in the show for
audio back here.
because you've bought some books and you've bought a badge. So I think you've thank you very much for the plugs earlier for the merch. Appreciate that. If people want to go on the Our Mutual website, if they just click on shop, you get redirected to the Village shop, which has books, CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays, clothing, badges, plant pots, whatever.
Where should I click?
Left hand side of the list.
I remember the Danger Man one was good.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's the offshoot site, Danger Man, run by a guy called Matt Cortman. Superb website all about Danger Man.
What would you say are some things that people giving the website kind of a once over might miss that's important?
I'd say if you just carry on scrolling down on the left hand side, if you want a list of everything that has ever been written about the series, just at the top in your top left hand corner, complete book guide. I think that's worth people checking out because that's a list of every book that's ever been written about the prisoner. Just on the left hand side.
Sorry, I'm having audio issues here. Give me a second.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
So yeah, left hand side. But we'll go in the shop. That's absolutely perfect. Yeah, that's going to be redirecting to the shop, so that's great.
And I am going to.
So if you click on shop by category, pick yourself a category, and everyone can have a look at what's available.
What I'm going to do, because I'm having audio issues, I'm going to pop out of the chat real quick, and I'm going to let you tell us about what we're seeing on the screen.
Okay, no problem. So, if people want to go on the shop, it's in aid of a children's hospice here in Wales. So you'll be helping terminally ill children with every purchase that you make. There are books, CDs, DVDs and Blu-rays, not just of The Prisoner, but various Patrick McGoohan movies and things like Danger Man as well. You can also get yourself some Unmutual merch. So if you want to have an Unmutual t-shirt or badge, that's there. Then there's sort of prop items as well. You can get a replica of the scarf worn by Number 2. That's a very popular item in the shop as well. And as I say, it's all in aid of terminally ill children. And very kindly, Michael Beacom has mentioned my book, The Prisoner, The Essential Guide, which is £2.99, £2.99.
And a
great value for the
book.
price, he says. Thank you.
Really good book.
It's a good. I like to think of it as a good starting point for people to just kind of learn the basics about The Prisoner, and then there are other books which go into things into much more.
Oh, that reminds me. Our giveaway this week. Something I'm rather excited about. Shame if anything happened to it. This is Patrick McGoohan and Lee Van Cleef in The Hard Way.
Oh, that's a good movie. Have you? I take it you haven't watched it yet, because I can still see the cellophane on it, I think.
Well, not this one. This is one that I bought for the giveaway.
I beg your pardon.
Because
have you seen the movie?
I make sure and make all my network purchases so that they'll be in one shipment. As you were saying.
It's a good movie. I like The Hard Way. It's very dark. McGoohan gives a great performance in that. Again, a little bit prisoner-esque. He's playing the loner who in that as he does in so many movies. But it's a good movie. I enjoyed The Hard Way. I think it's one of his better films. He has done some stinkers, but that's a good one.
Lot of great merch here kind of going by. That screen is no longer shared for some reason. I thought you guys were seeing this the same time I was. And people can get 10% off if they put in the Tallyho 10 coupon code. Is that right?
That's right. Yes, that's for your readers and listeners and viewers. Tally.
Well, thank you very much.
Tallyho 10 will get you 10% off. So not only are you helping charity, but you're helping yourselves as well. So that's
absolutely.
Everyone's a winner.
Those prisoner towels look really cool.
Yes.
I'm in the process of moving, and because I'm a chronic pain patient, just, moving a carload of little stuff makes my back really sore.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's killing me right now. But, yeah, lots of good-looking merch here.
Thank you.
Is there anything you would recommend specifically?
Oh, well, recommend specifically? I don't think anyone, even if people already have, and we've had this conversation before, Cardinal, even if people already have the series on video or YouTube or Amazon or DVD, the 50th anniversary Blu-ray remaster from Network, which I was very proud to be involved with, is a stunning piece of work. And you will watch The Prisoner unlike any way of watching it before. The picture is astonishingly clear. And then also you have the bonus of special features and optional text commentaries on every episode detailing all the production of the episode and the series as a whole. So I would recommend everybody get the 50th anniversary Blu-ray release. So that's what I would recommend this week.
And of course, my audio dropped out when you said that, but I'll listen back.
Hopefully everyone else had. I was just saying about the 50th anniversary Blu-ray is stunning, and I was proud to work on it, so everyone should buy that.
Yeah, it's amazing. Something everyone should have. It really, I have to tell you, Rick, it took everything I have not to watch ahead, because I wanted every episode of I Am Not a Number to be, a surprise, get my fresh thoughts,
Well, you've shown amazing self-control not to delve into future episodes.
I think I have. And I still haven't listened to my album yet. I showed you that, right? The soundtrack.
Yeah, you did.
And as I'm gathering more and more prisoner stuff, it's difficult for me not to move forward with other stuff that would influence my decision. Although I really have to say, I thought In My Mind was a great documentary.
Oh, it is, yeah. And people, and I say, if you buy the 50th anniversary box set, you get this as part of it. But it is also available as a standalone Blu-ray, DVD, and I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yep.
And it's it's a great piece of work. If you really want to try and get inside the mind of Patrick McGoohan, prepare to be amazed.
It's so off the wall. What I think we can say about it without spoiling too much is that a small shooting crew, I don't remember with whom they were affiliated, but a small shooting crew finally convinced Patrick McGoohan to talk about The Prisoner. And there were problems. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's a great summary of it. But it's a fascinating piece. But they also mix some really nice modern stuff in there. There's some lovely aerial drone footage of Portmeirion and some really, the first time she'd been really in-depth interviewed on film. Catherine McGoohan talking about her father and her father's work, I think.
Oh, you couldn't tell. She looked like an old hand. I figured she was an actress.
Well, she is an actress in real life, so she knows what she's doing. But it was the first time she'd really kind of talked on film about her dad.
Right.
You know, she is an actress. She appears in an episode of Columbo with Patrick.
I apologize. I keep having audio issues.
Oh, no problem. I'm quite happy to repeat what I just said. Catherine McGoohan was a very good actress, and she actually appears in a Columbo episode alongside Patrick McGoohan. I think it's the episode Ashes to Ashes, if I remember correctly, that she appears.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah, he appears in 4 Columbo episodes, and he's brilliant in all of them. He won an Emmy for 2 episodes.
And Michael Beacom says, if you can see this stream and you have not gotten The Prisoner, The Essential Guide, be kind to yourself and get it. Great value for the price, even before the 10% discount.
Thank you very much, Michael. That's real kind
I quite like it. It's a very good book, and I can't wait for the second edition to come out.
Well, I've always said that the best book about The Prisoner is yet to be written, and one day, if I have the time, I'm gonna try and do it. But it'd be huge. I don't think we need a boat just to ship each copy about. I think because I'd like it to have everything in it, and there's so much that we can talk about every episode, isn't there? That it would be a huge tome to get every factoid in there.
Actually, a friend of mine who goes by the YouTube handle of Doomcock or Overlord DVD is writing a book about The Prisoner, which is why he isn't on this show.
Right.
Because even though he has 3 or 4 live streams a week or videos and live streams and has a tier of membership for Patreon where you get a signed declaration of obeisance to Doomcock and stickers and buttons and all kinds of cool stuff. Let's see if you can see mine from here.
Do we know what sort of book it is? Is it a production guide? Is it a this is what it all means in my opinion sort of book?
It's going to be a this is what it's all about book, especially the last episode.
Great. Well, if he wants me to help promote it for him on the website, just ask him to get in touch. And
you see that picture right there?
Any friend of yours is a friend of mine.
That's Doomcock right next to Jenny Agutter. But he's a YouTube personality, content creator, very creative. When he does Friday Night Frolics, he sings. He's fronted a kind of a Frank Sinatra band, big band. He does incredible impersonations, including ones I couldn't even try. Like, he does a great Peter Falk. I've never heard him do Patrick McGoohan, but I can't imagine he'd be very bad at it. He, on his show, he does these great lost, failed, what do you call them? Voiceover auditions, so he'll have James T. Kirk, auditioning for the Tears and Rain sequence in Blade Runner. To which I had to reply, he actually was kind enough to have me on his show in a spotlight for about half an hour. And so I did my lost audition for Christopher Walken. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. You know, that kind of thing. I don't know if you're a Blade Runner fan or if that made any sense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. No, all very good. I shall check him out. But do ask him to get in touch if he wants any help or promotion.
I
or whatever
will.
Of his.
Absolutely.
I always like to see people writing about the prisoner and what they think it means. I think what's great, and we'll discuss this, I'm sure, when we come to the last episode, especially. But every time we have a conversation and we talk about someone in the chat or whatever, everyone has their own slightly different
as I
way
mentioned, his main focus is on the last episode and what it means. And
fantastic.
He doesn't
There's
want
no right
to
or
be...
wrong, is there? That's what's so great about this.
Say again?
There's no right or wrong answer to that as well, isn't it? So it's great to read each individual person's own idea of what it's all about.
Yeah. And he watched The Prisoner a lot and considers himself to be pretty close to the world's foremost authority on the show. I think you are, but yeah, he's writing a book and doesn't want to get contaminated by what other people think or what we might talk about on the show. So,
sure,
you know, knowing him as I do, he's very busy signing all these, you know, membership kits and cards, wallet-sized cards and stuff like that. But that's what he does for people that are Patreon sponsors at a certain level, and he has to send them out every week. And this time of the year, as I'm sure you can dig, it's harder and harder for him to get to the post office, and I think he only goes once every couple of weeks anyway. Let's see what we have in the chat real quick. Good to see the lovely Sherry here. Michael Beacom says, Rick, your book is the first one I can give non-prisoner fans that will entice them and not scare them away. Like if they watch the show, they'll have to take a test or something. Funny you should mention that, Michael. Because the prisoner interrogations is exactly that.
Why don't you give them a test, Cardinal Sin? Give our readers and listeners a little test and see if anyone can get the right answer. Not for a prize, just for fun.
All right. So the first one is episode synopses. So we'll skip that. Questions. Maybe I'll ask you the questions.
Oh,
let them
okay.
play along.
Now. Okay.
The schizoid. The following symbol appears on mind reading cards in the Schizoid Man. True or false?
I can't see that. It's just it's a red heart. Well, that's false. There's no hearts.
Of course it's false.
Yeah, that's easy.
Alexis Connor appears in 3 episodes of The Prisoner. True or false?
That's true.
Ding, 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 ding. The episode dealing with mind transfer is called A Change of Mind. True or false?
Oh, well, we know that that's false, don't we? Because we know that's Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling. But
It
A
is
Change
false.
of Mind would have been a brilliant title for this episode.
It would have. And I read that the writer was going to steal the title Face Removed, is that what you said it was?
Face Unknown was the original
Face
title.
Unknown, yeah. But
Was the
that was a title of a upcoming episode, and so he couldn't use it and changed it to Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling.
That's not something I've heard.
Well, it seems like Alex Cox is getting quite a bit wrong.
Yeah. Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling was originally going to be the title of Living in Harmony. I don't know whether he's got confused there.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Circle the number of lines which show the correct number of episodes of The Prisoner. 6, 7, 13, or 17.
Well, I wonder what that could be.
Circle the number of the title which is not a Prisoner episode. Till Death Do Us Part, It's Your Funeral, The Girl Who Is Death, Dance of the Dead.
I think I know. Have you ever seen Till Death Us Do Part, Cardinal Sin? It's a 1970s UK sitcom about a very racist man.
About a very racist man?
Yeah.
Like,
the 70s
like
in
All in the
Britain was a
Family?
strange place. They made comedies about all sorts of things.
I suppose I can restore myself to normal size here. Circle the number of the line which shows number 6's correct time and date of birth. 4:13 a.m., 29th of March, 1918. 4:19 a.m., 28th of March, 1931. 1919 or 1928.
You know the answer to that, don't you, Cardinal?
I think it's 1918.
No, it's
Is
1928.
it 28?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was fooled by the errant 8. Aye, I'm asking the questions here.
I beg your pardon.
Rearrange the following number 2 quotations in correct order of speech. Number 2, come and join me for breakfast. Good morning to you. I hope you slept well. The Green Dome.
Good morning to you. I hope you slept well. Come and have breakfast. Number 2, the Green Dome. That's the order.
Exactly right. And we all like a bit of trivia here on the Cardinal Sin channel. I have a Sunday afternoon show in this same time slot called Cardinal Sin and Friends Trivia Smackdown, where I sort of do a web crawl and pick out what I think are medium difficult questions for Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, The Prisoner, Westerns, just pop culture in general. Mm-hmm. And then we have a panel, and it's a lot of fun. People really enjoy it. And it's called Smackdown Trivia because if you don't know the answer, once every 2 turns, you can use your smack. And you send it to another team. You put the smack down on somebody else. And if they get it right, they get 2 points. And if they get it wrong, you get 1. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very careful. I'm not sure why, but it has 10 times the views of any of my other shows. I guess people just like the interactivity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people can play along and take part themselves. People always like that sort of thing.
It's other YouTubers, so they tell all of their subscribers and put out the notification, and I make sure that everybody gets plenty of lag time to promote the show.
And it also has the advantage that I'm not on it, which I'm sure is very attractive to people.
Actually, I either considered inviting you or did invite you once. I don't remember. But I'd be happy for you to be in the audience.
I wouldn't want to put anybody off of joining that great show. So
No, I mean
thank you. You're very kind to offer, but
it's a lot of fun. It's not really so much about who wins, but we have a lot of fun throwing jokes in there and stuff. The following 4 scenes appear in Many Happy Returns. Rearrange the 4 scenes into their correct sequence, starting with the scene that appears first. Beachy Head, the Gypsy Camp, the Raft, London.
Okay, well, the raft is first. Then he goes to Beachy Head because that's where he lands. Then he walks up the hill and sees the Gypsy Camp, and then he goes to London in a truck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rearrange the following prisoner actors in correct order of their appearance in the series, starting with the actor who appears least. Did you understand that?
No, that makes no sense. Did he mean last?
Rearrange the following prisoner actors in correct order of their appearance in the series, starting with the actor who appears least. I guess they want you to go
number of episodes. Yeah, number of episodes.
Yeah, like 3, 2, 1, like a best of. Patrick McGoohan, Kenneth Griffith, Nigel Stock. Back to our joke about stock footage.
Yeah, Patrick McGoohan appears in all 17 episodes. Kenneth Griffith appears in 2 episodes. Nigel Stock appears in 1 episode. So there we go. These are easy.
You went
questions.
The wrong way.
I'm not challenged. I need to be. I'm not challenged here.
All right, we'll move ahead a little bit.
I don't think it gets any more difficult. I think it's.
I don't think it does.
Not that
match the writer.
I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking
match
it.
the writer of 3 prisoner episodes in column 1 to the writer of 3 prisoner episodes in column 2 by drawing a line from the one to the other. So the first column is Louis Griefer.
Yep, he wrote The General.
Roger Parks, Anthony Skeen, Terrence Feely. In the second column is Roger Wattis, Patrick McGoohan, Michael Cramoy, and Vincent Tisley.
Patrick McGoohan, there needs to be a line between Patrick McGoohan and Anthony Skeen because they both wrote 3 episodes. That's what he wants you to do. Right, I understand now.
Can you guess the other 2?
There's only one right answer. He said match the writers that wrote 3 episodes.
Oh, right. Sorry.
All right. No, don't say sorry.
I can say sorry if I want. It's my show. This one's too easy. Bloody microphone. Complete the following sentence from Free for All by adding the one missing word.
Okay.
Humor is the very essence of a democratic
society.
That's correct.
Nobody
Even
expects
I know that.
Spanish Inquisition.
Are you kind of a pub crawl fan?
Not hugely, no, because I don't drink.
Were you ever kind of a pub crawl fan?
Not massively, no, because I've never really been a drinker. So,
You've never gone round to the pub?
I've gone to the pub. A pub crawl is where you have one drink at each pub and you get
yeah. Did I say pub crawl?
You did. Did you mean pub
I didn't
quiz?
mean pub crawl. I'm sorry.
Did you mean pub quiz?
Quiz. That's what I meant.
I used to, for many years when I was younger, for my sins, between the ages of 18 to when I was about 30, I used to run a pub quiz at my local pub every Thursday evening.
Oh, that's so cool.
7
was it about the prisoner?
No, it wasn't. No, 7 rounds of 10 questions. General knowledge, geography, history, TV and films, science and nature, pop music, and sport.
Oh, Rick, you'd be perfect for Cardinal Sin and Friends Trivia Smackdown. You got to come on a show.
Oh, well, I'm sure. Well, yeah, I'll tell you what. When we're done with all the episodes,
with all this,
I'd love to come and join you for one. That'd be very cool.
We'll find a Saturday or a Sunday that meets your needs.
But don't tell anyone in advance I'm coming, otherwise they'll be put.
I won't.
Yeah.
We don't want to scare anybody off.
No.
In A, B, and C, what letter did Annette Carroll play?
B. Very sad. She died before that episode was aired. She sadly,
Yeah.
I believe,
It's very sad.
took her own life in very tragic circumstances, I believe.
In The General, what does the prisoner type on the typewriter?
WHY question mark. It's insoluble for man or machine.
Why? Name the saloon featured in Living in Harmony. And I'll give you this one spoiler.
Oh, we've got a picture there.
Oh, I guess we've already seen Living in Harmony.
No, we haven't. No, it's next week,
Yeah.
isn't it?
But you can go ahead and spoil it if you can remember the name of the...
That's not from
saloon.
Living in Harmony, though.
No,
Is that the picture that's...
I'm just holding that up.
Is that the picture that he's used to illustrate Living in Harmony? It's the Silver Dollar Saloon, by the way. Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Oh, there you go.
And that's from Dance of the Dead.
Yeah, some really nice pictures in here.
There are some nice pictures. They don't seem to match with the questions, but that's fine. Now, Leslie Glenn, who wrote that book, is a great guy. He's written 2 volumes of the quiz books. He's working on a 3rd volume. So the Prisoner Interrogations 3 is being worked on for this year. He organises events, and he's a really great guy. Once in Portmeirion, there was a fancy dress parade. So people were dressed as number 6 and number 2 and the maid and all things.
A cosplay thing.
A cosplay thing. He went as Beachy Head Lighthouse. He concocted an entire lighthouse made of chicken wire and bed sheets that he painted red and white. And so you've got all these people wandering around just as number 6, and then suddenly Beachy Head Lighthouse walks past. So he's a legend, is Leslie Glenn, who wrote that.
It sounds like the sort of thing that could be a yearly event. But he might set up...
It was then. There were conventions every year in Portland. Yeah.
Sort of
cosplay's never been
half tour, half game. Like, I never played the Pokemon game where you look on your phone and go to various places and get Pokemon. But you could sort of do something similar to that at Portmeirion.
Everywhere you find a number 6, you've got to wave your phone about.
Well, yeah. I mean, all you have to do is scan, say, a geocached clue or a prop, whatever.
I have to say, I've never understood prisoner cosplay because I find it odd that the whole idea of the show is that we're supposed to all be individuals.
And we have all these people dressed up as an individual.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Monty Python again, isn't it? Yes, we are all individuals.
Yeah. Be an individual like me and all my friends.
Yes, exactly.
Complete the following sentence from Free for All by adding the one missing word. Everyone votes for a
dictator. And that's very true. Is there ever a truer sentence in the series than that one?
Probably not. I know that one even. Let's see if they have any harder stuff. This actually pertains to today's episode. Why don't you tell us how? Here, I've got to find a way to...
Oh, is it? I can't quite see, but I'm imagining it might be the word Seltzman.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see it now with the codes that he had for his slides.
I found that very interesting.
Tell us more.
In Shakespeare's King Lear, the Earl of Gloucester says to his son, Edgar, there is a cliff where high and bending head looks. Fearfully in the confined deep, What prisoner location do we know this description by? There is a cliff whose high and bending head looks fearfully to the confined deep.
Well, it must be Beachy Head.
Indeed.
All I can imagine.
This is too easy for you. And here's a great picture of your avatar.
That's my avatar. In book form, my avatar. How wonderful. So it just shows that Patrick McGoohan did turn up for a bit of filming, because that's definitely him.
Well, he obviously had to shoot the ending.
Yeah.
I think that most or all of the beginning was stock footage.
Correct. You don't see his face other than in stuff that appears in other episodes. Yeah, he only came back to do the last scene.
There's a lot of stuff from
so he missed
Arrival,
a lot of this episode,
and I imagine there's a lot of stuff that didn't even, went onto the cutting room floor, so to speak, for Arrival.
Absolutely. I think you were spot on with something you said earlier on, in that a lot of the stuff that we saw, you knew it was stock footage, but you didn't think you'd seen it before, and you were absolutely correct. You hadn't seen it before. It was all the offcuts, basically, so that people would recognize it. If they'd seen it in the opening sequence of the previous 13 episodes, they would have recognized it. So this was all the offcuts.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. It's great to see them. I'd love somebody to, if there's a way, I don't think anybody's ever done this. I might give myself a challenge here. We see his journey in the opening sequence, and obviously it's put to music, so it has to fit the music. I'd love for somebody just to put all the footage from this episode, from the opening sequence, cut it all together so that we get all the footage of his entire journey, from resigning to going to his house, because there's so much that's in this episode that's not in the opening sequence. I'd love to see it all joined together.
You know what you might do, Rick, is put that challenge on your website, and some enterprising YouTuber might do so. The only problem being that such an edit couldn't be shown on YouTube.
No, copyright problems, but it'd be nice to see
unless the sequences were all like 10 seconds or less, which would be difficult.
Yeah, no, you couldn't do that. But maybe it's something, if Network come to me and say they're going to try and do a 60th anniversary box set, maybe that's something that could be put on there.
There you go. That's a good idea. Make sure I get credit. No,
I will. Yeah, we'll send you a free box set.
There you go. Michael Beacom says, what I like about Doomcock's Friday shows is that he tries to take your mind off of what sucked that whole week and make you smile instead of cry over the wreckage of our beloved culture. Hallelujah. And Canadian Spider-Man agrees. Michael Beacom at Cardinal Sin, by the way, you're walking rocks. I've heard a few, but you stand out. I can see him saying what you speak. Well, if you're really hip on my Christopher Walken, why not? You can go to youtube.com/cardinalsin, and I'm trying to remember what the playlist is. It might be in Cardinal Sin Rants, but there's a short video of me as Christopher Walken, a much younger me. It was one of the first times I broke out my Christopher Walken in public. And you can watch Christopher Walken doing a dramatic reading of The Devil Went Down to Georgia by the Charlie Daniels Band, if you're of a mind. Michael Beacom says, you're going to ask a bunch of Prisoner fans to answer your questions? Ha! Either they already know the answer or they will not answer your questions, right, Rick?
Yeah.
Hail, Darius Munchausen. Good to
Hey,
see that
Darius.
he's
Yeah.
up and about. Hail, Rick the Unmutual, and welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Good to see you as always.
Michael Beacom says false, till death do us part. Answering the questions. Canadian Spider-Man says, well, I like The Prisoner at Michael Beacom, but I'm not familiar with more than just a couple of episodes. Canadian Spider-Man's time is at a premium. He's got like 120 hours of work a week to do, whether he does that much or not. But he has a great work ethic. He's a hard worker. And Michael Beacom says, back to Canadian Spider-Man, I think that it is streaming on one of the services, but watch it as we go. It's worth it. It expanded my mind and helped me stay true to myself in the bullying days of grade school. Oh, cool. Yes, The Prisoner is available on Amazon Prime for free with ads, which is how I watched it last night. And I think it's worth it. I think it's also available on either YouTube or Netflix. I don't recall. Do you, Rick?
I think it's on Shout TV, which I think have a YouTube channel. It's not on Netflix.
That's right. Did you say Shout? Shout Factory?
Shout Factory, not Shout TV. Shout Factory, yes. I think they've got a license to show it on YouTube.
Are they involved with network at all?
No, they've just sub-licensed the show from them. So they've paid a fee to say, can we have this on our YouTube channel in the US? Yes, give us some money. Sure, you can have some money. Right, there you go. That's how
I'll tell you what. I'm not sure how much they paid for the license fee, but by the time I heard there was a 40th anniversary remastered Blu-ray set, they were gone.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Shout Factory only made enough that they thought they could definitely sell, and then they left guys like me hanging. Fortunately, I met you, and you turned me on to the 50th anniversary.
I wonder if they only had an agreement to make so many. We'll give you this much, but we can only make 1,000 copies or 2,000 copies or whatever. And that was their deal. They made that many. They all sold out, and they thought to themselves, "Oh shucks, we could have paid a bit more and made a load more." But maybe they didn't.
I was really surprised they didn't make a second run.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everyone that I know that's into The Prisoner, other than you, of course, was like, there was a remastered 40th anniversary Blu-ray set.
I think a lot of this stuff doesn't get to the US, unfortunately. I think there's been a few DVD and there's been 2 Blu-ray releases now which haven't really transferred themselves across the Atlantic. I don't know why. It must be a licensing issue, I guess, but I think it's a shame but then again, you've done the right thing. Just get yourself a multi-region player and then you can buy all the UK stuff and get it shipped over from network like you've been doing and watch to your heart's content all the great content that you've been buying.
I have to say, I'm really glad that you turned me on to network, because there's lots of stuff that they've remastered and looks great and isn't really available here. So yeah, I recommend that everyone get a region-free Blu-ray player, which is already a region-free DVD player, and also get a 4K UHD player. I've got the 5.1 surround sound set up for my computer, but not for the TV. So when I watch The Prisoner on the big screen TV, whether I'm watching a Blu-ray or Amazon Prime, it looks just like it was made yesterday. It's brilliant, the remaster.
Now, I have to go shortly, I'm afraid, Cardinal. Did you have any more thoughts on Do Not Forsake Me that I can chat to you about or help you with before I have to go?
Let's see. How do you think that Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling affects prisoner canon? Or in other words, do you believe that Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling doesn't break prisoner canon? If that
I know
makes
why
any
you're
sense.
asking that. A lot of people think it does, and people tend to say it's very unpopular among a lot of prisoner fans. They tend to say, "Oh, we can live without that. It makes a mess of the whole series." And when you ask them why they think that, they go on about the fiance, as I've mentioned before. But there are clues to that elsewhere in the prisoner. I think it's absolutely canon. I don't see how you can lose any episode of the prisoner. There are other episodes which are much more inconsistent to the rest of the series than this one. This episode absolutely fits with the rest of the series. We know that number six lives in that particular house. We can assume from hints in other episodes that he is engaged, because it's kind of slightly mentioned in A Chimes of Big Ben that he might be engaged to somebody. We know that he kind of works in the Secret Service. Whether that means he's an agent or a scientist is irrelevant. This episode confirms that he works in that sort of job, that he has friends who are scientists is not denied in the rest of the series. I think it perfectly fits with who number six is and with the rest of the series. Sure, if you ejected this episode from our memory, we'd never be sitting there thinking, "Oh, I wish there was a 17th episode, with a body swap in it."
Right.
But no, it's absolutely part of the series. It is one of the, if there is such a thing, it is one of the less strong episodes, but still doesn't mean it isn't brilliant. I think I love every episode of The Prisoner. I don't think there is a weak episode of The Prisoner. I think all 17 are fantastic in their own right. And I enjoy this episode. It's absolutely canon. It doesn't ruin the rest of the series. Everything in it fits with the rest of the series. Sure, we meet some characters we haven't met before, but that happens in many Happy Returns. We meet characters in that episode that we didn't see before or since. No one says that episode isn't canon. So, and the same with Chimes of Big Ben. We meet different bosses in that episode. No one ever suggests that the Chimes of Big Ben isn't canon, but that has things in it that aren't mentioned in the rest of the series. That's the thing when you have a series written by so many different writers. There are going to be elements which you don't see in the rest of the series, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think that adds to the lovely patchwork quilt that is the series.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe News at 10, Wales.
I think that even though this episode is so different from all the other episodes, and you're right, each one has its own je ne sais quoi, I suppose. But I don't think that it breaks canon either. As a matter of fact, I think it strengthens prisoner canon because they are further ramifying the use of science or the scientific approach to what would otherwise be science fiction, fantasy, or something like that. And it's a much needed break, like you said, from the, oh, look, the prisoner escaped. Oh, look, the prisoner escaped. Oh, look, the prisoner escaped. So I would give this episode, I think, a 7 out of 10.
Perfect. I can't disagree with anything that you've said.
And Michael Beacom says, problem with ending number 6, the scientist is flying away now in that helicopter. Number 2 should say, the helicopter I can recall with a phone call or blow out of the sky. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good point. That is a good point, because in Arrival, he just turns the helicopter around and brings it back, doesn't he? But the
also,
same it happens at the end of
for
It's
the
Your
first
Funeral,
time,
he's flying away,
for the first time in this series, in the order that we're watching them, in the release order, they mentioned number 1 for the first time, I believe. Somebody on the village side mentions
yes,
number one.
he does. Yeah, tell number one that I did my duty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is the first time that someone on the village names number one by name, so to speak. I think you're right.
So there is a number one,
Mm.
who I guess we'll see later. I wanted to go ahead and share with folks. That's the wrong thing. Come on, Gil. Hit the right thing. Some of the merch available at gilstore.com. We are in masters of the genre territory here. And when you need to break off, Rick, you just let me know.
Oh, well, I'll shout, but you carry on. It's great to see you plugging your own merch.
Yeah, gotta hawk the merch. And actually, these are all priced at the minimum where I don't lose money, but I don't really make any money either. So if you see something that you like, it's going to be really inexpensive. There are a lot of YouTubers that make things and price them sort of out of reach, and I didn't want to do that. On the back, as you can see, of my shirts, it has the URL for my channel. So as a thank you for becoming a walking billboard for my channel, I keep the prices very low. These are very popular. The midnight to midnight stuff. I got a great photo of Canadian Spider-Man wearing his. Here we have our line of I Am Not a Number products. I really like this this white one for some reason. I just really like that design. And thanks to Fet for Hire for the designs that you've seen so far, and many of the others as well. Of course, we have the I Am Not a Number sweatshirt. And the hoodie, which looks much the same, but has a different design, actually.
I quite like that.
We have your I Am Not a Number pint glass.
That's nice.
Which is quite fetching indeed.
No, I like it. You got some really nice stuff on there.
Yeah. I try to be...
I mean, it is affordable. You're quite right. You know, I see these things, you know, people you know, putting these things on mugs and T-shirts. And a lot of it's double the price that you've got up there.
Say again?
That's really affordable. Just saying, you mentioned that you know, you're not making a profit on this, and we can see that it's all really affordable stuff. So if people are tempted to buy something, please do dive in and go for it, because you're not going to find content like this cheaper at other YouTuber sites. Far from it. It's going to be more expensive elsewhere. So support Cardinal Sin and get yourself a great item at an affordable price.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, you're very welcome. And on that note, I'm afraid I'm going to have to love you and leave you, Cardinal Sin, and all the listeners and viewers. I'm sorry that I have to duck out at this time.
Right.
But it's been a pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you to all the people in the chat. I won't name everybody individually, but you all know who you are. Thank you for your support of the show and of me appearing on the show. It's always a pleasure to be part of it. And thank you very much, Cardinal, for having me on. And I hope to be able to join you again next week.
For being here, yes. And next week we will be showing
Living in Harmony.
Living in Harmony. So everyone check out Living in Harmony on Amazon or on physical media. And we will talk with Rick at that point. So thanks again, Rick, for being on.
No, thank you. It's a genuine pleasure. Thank you so much for the kind words and for the plugs for the website. And thank you, Darius, for putting the website link in the chat again. Very
Absolutely.
Very kind of you. But thank you as always. It's a genuine pleasure. Enjoyed it very much. Great fun. Speak to you next week. Be seeing you.
All right. And thank you, Darius, for putting up Rick's website, theunmutual.co.uk. And let's go back to Rick's website, which is sorry folks, having some audio issues, theunmutual.co.uk, and you can go to the village shop and put in Tally-ho 10 and get 10% off anything that you buy in the shop, which is part of his website. And I must say, it's a very good website. I should have asked before if Rick made the website himself, which I don't suppose really matters. But I thought would be an interesting thing. I bet he did. He's very crafty, that one. Cutting Edge, My Life in Film and Television by Eric Mival. Lots of great stuff. Ooh, I haven't seen that before. Playboy Spies and Private Eyes, inspired by ITC. It won't let me make it bigger. That seems interesting. Everyone's saying thanks and bye to Rick. It is always a joy having Rick with us because he's more knowledgeable about the prisoner than anyone I've ever run into. That might include Tracy, actually. Gap Stargate says, just got out of the doctor's office. Hope everyone's doing well. I read a really weird article in our local newspaper, to which I do not subscribe, but I happened to be at CVS Pharmacy, and they had a paper from yesterday and a paper from the 31st. And the news about Omicron and how much faster it spreads and how more lethal it is was unnerving, to say the least. And then they also said how many cases we have in our county. And I know that some places have talked about a lot of mass quittings of frontline doctors, nurses, etc. Seems like this Omicron variant is going to be tough to beat. We may end up losing a lot more people. Yes, Ari, mein Bruder, I agree. He is an outstanding guest. Be seeing you, Michael. So we're just about done. I thought maybe we would take another look at Rick's website. So this is the Village Shop. And again, for anyone that's interested in any of these products, use TallyHo10 in your coupon code and you'll get 10% off everything except shipping, maybe. Which I think is an outstanding deal. I got a couple of these. Just in case you need to have some flair as a conversation starter. Unmutual. So there you can buy your Unmutual pin badge for only £2.49. And even more cool prisoner swag. Speaking of which, we need to give away The Hard Way with Patrick McGowan and Lee Van Cleef. Do we have a mod in the chat that can bring forth the spinner? Let me invite one or two. And if anyone can bring the spinner wheel online. I put the link to them in the DM area. Be seeing you. Thanks for being here, my bro. There's Mr. Canadian Spider-Man. Hello.
Hello.
I forgot to include the the link. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Not a problem. I just needed to clarify. I know Michael Beacom just left the chat. He's been. It's up to you. Like, what's the? Is it people right in the stream right now that like drop a number in the stream, or who? How do you want to set that up?
That's generally how we do it.
Right.
We put the link into the URL that leads to the wheel, and everybody that's interested in winning will follow that URL. So, do you happen to have that URL?
I do, but I do. It's right here.
So we need to put up the link to that URL.
Right there. That should take it. If it's as simple as that, there might be more processes involved that maybe Antiderivative Jill is more familiar with, but that's the link that I'm looking at right now. That's the URL that I'm looking at for the wheel right now.
Okay. Oh, I see, and you can put in whatever names you like.
That's right. Now, are you looking at the wheel? I've already put in names. So is that the link that takes you to the wheel that I'm looking at?
This one says Gabriel, Hannah, Ali, Beatrice,
different one.
Charles.
Okay, right. So that's not going to work. So what we can do is everyone that's here, I'm just throwing this up, this Cardinal Sin, everyone that's here, just drop a number 1 in the chat, and I'll add those wheel names manually from my end behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Right? You're welcome. And then I will share my screen when it's ready to spin the wheel, and you can throw it up there, and I'll push the button whenever you instruct me to do so.
Everyone that's interested in winning a copy of The Hard Way, please put a number 1, into the chat, and we will pick ourselves a winner.
Including Darius, too. Darius.
And including yourself.
And Gap.
Yep. And Ari and Murdog. So, drop those letters, guys. Everyone in the chat, just drop a letter 1. And then I'll let you start working on the names that we have. Darius.
Populating
of course, yourself.
As we speak. Is the lovely Sherry still around? I know she was here earlier.
Gap. Let's see. I don't see no Sherry no more.
And I think anyone with the last name Bavel should certainly put a 1 in the chat.
I would think so. I would encourage my brother to put a 1 in the chat.
Brother.
Yeah. He's the person that got me interested in all of this British stuff in the first place.
Right. And yeah, that's funny you should say that. I'm sitting with my brother here as well. He's not going to come on camera though. But
he's in
where's
the chat?
your brother? No, he's here at my house. Where's your brother located?
He was in the chat the other day.
Yeah, I think so. Is he in Canada or in the U.S. Gil?
My brother?
Mm-hmm.
He's in the United States. He lives about an hour away from me.
Well, if he ever comes up this way, I'll definitely buy him a beer.
I'm sure he would appreciate that. So make sure everybody gets their they're number one in the chat for the giveaway. And do you have everyone that's put a 1 onto the wheel so far?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I believe so, yeah.
All right. Last call to put your name, a number by your name, a number 1, to get on the wheel to win our prize. The Hard Way with Patrick McGowan and Lee Van Cleef.
Lee Van
And-
Cleef, nice.
Canadian Spider-Man, you put your own name on there too, right?
I did, yes. I have
Okay.
Murdoch, Darius Munchausen, Canadian Spider-Man, Gap Stargate, Ari Bavel, and I know we had other people in watching, but
Darius Munchausen says, so awesome to have family here. If I had a sibling, I would tell them to watch Cardinal Sin. Aw, thank you.
mhm.
Maybe you can encourage my brother to put a 1 in the chat,
Yeah, he might
and then
listen
he'll
to Darius.
go, I don't have a Blu-ray player.
Darius does carry authority with him with that avatar.
Okay, I think we've had plenty of time.
Okay.
Why don't you bring
Share
the
your-
wheel online so I can put it into the chat?
I will. I'm sharing my screen as we speak.
Excellent.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have 4 people. Darius? Is he on there?
Yes, he is. He's in the red.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and spin that wheel.
Okay. The wheel is spinning.
Oh, I miss all the sounds. It looks like Darius Munchausen.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
Right. Congratulations, Darius.
And I think
Whoa, that's trippy.
I have Darius's information.
Mhm.
So I will go ahead and get that sent out to him. Canadian Spider-Man, are you a fan of The Prisoner?
I am, yeah, but I've only seen a very few episodes, like maybe 3. So, yeah, but having seen them, when I'm listening to describe it and talk about it, like I can see, Patrick McGowan walking around doing the actions you guys are describing in my head completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I've got
It's,
I've got The Prisoner, Doctor Who, Red Dwarf. Yeah, I'm hoping I break a leg soon, so I'll be tied up in bed for a couple of months, and then
Man,
I
I did that last year and I
watch
can't
this.
recommend it.
No, I don't imagine.
Let's see here. So next week we are shooting for Living in Harmony, number 14. So Living in Harmony will be our next episode.
Maybe I'll just pop off, Gil, and let you command the whole show again.
No, that's fine. You're doing fine. We're
Okay.
just going to
I
wrap
don't
it
wanna
up here.
steal
I just wanted to
your,
mention
thunder
that
here.
Living in Harmony will be our episode for next week. So make sure that you get a chance to watch that on Amazon Prime or your own physical media or wherever else it's being shown. I don't recall. And Cam is here. Hail Cardinal, hail Canadian Spider-Man, and Darius, and Gap Stargate. Hail all. Well, hail Cam. Good to see you. Glad you're here, my friend.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Good to see you. Yeah,
Hail
I
Cam, the
streamed
king
with him
of
yesterday.
the Internet Movie Database.
He knows
That's
a lot
an
of
in-joke
stuff.
to which I don't get. Lots of love for Cam, who I hope is feeling better. And
I believe he said he was.
that's good. I think we will go ahead and get things ready to wrap up. Again, next week we'll be reviewing Living in Harmony. So make sure and see that. We're going to get rid of this Russian bot. Ping. Huh.
Funny Gil,
I didn't know that. It's an in-joke, but Cardinal Sin is on the Internet Movie Database too.
You're on.
I should be very
IMDb.
interested to see
Whoa.
how and why.
Googling that right now.
Cam, Cardinal Sin have to catch the show on rewatch. I was doing chores. That's funny. Well, I'm glad you're able to do chores. All right. So, for Rick Davey and Canadian Spider-Man, it's Cardinal Sin, and we are